Hi, it's Lucy here and thanks for coming to my channel. Today I'd just like to show a video. I have a few of these sentiment strips which are from the Uniquely Creative kits. This is the Ocean Breeze kit, which may no longer be available, but if you're like me, you may have some of these sentiments. They come from the 12 by 12 papers on the bottom, which tell you what papers they are. On the other side, Uniquely Creative have designed strips so that you can actually use them up and you don't have to throw out any waste. So just in case you have a pile like I do here, I thought I'd make a card out of them and show you how to do it. So I've also cut out some strips here from one of the pieces of papers. It's double-sided, so I'm going to use both sides on this card. And then I've chosen a few embellishments that I'd like to add to it as well, and I'll just be placing them hopefully in a nice position. I have a pile there which I fussy cut out, and some of them are creative cuts which also come in the collections with Uniquely Creative. So I've cut out a 14 by 14 square piece of paper, and I'm just going to cover it with tape, double-sided tape. You can do this, you can glue it, otherwise you can use whatever adhesive you would like, but I find this nice and easy. So now I'm just going to take the first one. I'm going to try and make sure that it's straight, because it makes a big difference at the end if you start crooked, and that's why often I'll make them diagonals whenever I'm doing these sort of strips, so that it doesn't notice as much. Whereas if you're going straight like this, you need to kind of make sure that they are sitting perfectly. I'm making sure not to put the same ones next to each other, and the same with the sentiment strips. A couple of them are the same, so I'm just going to make sure that they're all different as I go along. And if they are the same, all I need to do is just move one of the sentiments over a little bit, and it won't look like it's the same strip anyway. So nearly finished here. And then all I'll need to do is cut off the sides, and it always looks like quite a mess when you're doing this as you go along, but the fun thing is when you turn it over and cut off the ends and it's all nice and straight, it's really, yeah, they always turn out really nice. I love that look. I'm not sure if everyone else does, but I don't know, there's something about stripes and these sort of strips, it's really good. So I'm just going to add a little bit of gold foiling just to those beachy type strips, just to give it a little something different. So that glue that I was using, the turbo glue, is quite good for this because it's a little bit sticky. If you tend to find that some aren't sticky enough, so it's best to try different ones. This you can see there that it's just come up where I've put the glue, so yeah, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. So I'm just doing it, as I said, on those strip areas there, so that it's not too much. I'll be able to use this gold foil again as well, seeing as it's just using it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I wouldn't put it through my laminator, but definitely to use this sort of technique again. So now I'm feeling like it needs a little bit of backing, so I've got some gold cardstock here, and I've just cut it to over 14 centimeters. I'm making sure that it is just a little bit larger than what I need so that you can see it around each side. What I do there is with the tape, I do the tape all around the each sides and one little piece in the middle, so that I can just do the middle part first. Make sure that I get it all evenly before I have to put down all the sides. So now it's quite thick because it's got cardstock, paper, the gold. So I won't do it for this one. I'll just put it straight down on the card. But that's what I usually do. So now my card base is all finished, and I'm going to start playing around with all the different elements and see what looks good. I've actually ripped this, it's a textured type cardstock, but it reminds me of sand, so I decided to give it a bit of a tear and put it down so that it kind of looks like it's a sandy ground. And I thought the bike then looks quite cute being on the sand like that. So I'm just playing around and seeing what suits. If you haven't seen my other videos, I hope you'll go and have a look at them as well. I do try to give some different ideas and try not to make my videos too long so that you can get some ideas, but it doesn't take you half an hour to watch. I do have another card after this one as well. So I'm happy with where all of these are placed. I just wanted to move it over a little bit, but I'm going to glue down those bottom ones so that then I have a base now to go with. And I'll just, the glue that I use is Aquadare, and if you're in, it's a Sally's one that I get in Bunnings. You can also get it in Mitre 10 if you're in Australia. And I find that it just sticks everything, and it sticks really fast. So yeah, I really love that glue, and that's the only one I use. And I just pop a bit. I buy a big one and pop it into these little bottles. So I'm just putting down my little sandy ground, and I realized shortly that I've put it up too high, that the bike, it won't work. So luckily this glue does give me a tiny bit of drying time so that I can move it. You'll see me do it in a moment. I do like to keep the mistakes in so that you can see that when you're crafting, it's all fun. It doesn't matter if something goes wrong. You just try to fix it the best you can. If I couldn't have picked up that sandy ground, all I would have done is just made a new piece, and I would have had 2 layers. I would have just left that one there, and just laid another one down a bit lower. So you don't need to be worrying if something doesn't work out. There's always a way around it, and if you can't think of a way around it without ruining the card, it's best to maybe leave it overnight and come back to it with a clear head the next day, because sometimes it is a bit upsetting if you feel like you've put all this work into a card and then you've done something to ruin it at the last minute. But I use up all sorts of scraps. As you saw, I just had that one little tiny lace part, but it doesn't need to go in the bin. I've just added it there as another little extra embellishment, and I think it looks quite cute. So I didn't want to put foam tape on these little sentiment strips because I didn't want them to be too high. So all I did was add a little bit of paper behind them so that they weren't sitting flat either. I've used the foam tape for the little beach hut, but these ones is, now I'm just adding some glue and stick them in so they're not, otherwise they'd get lost because they're more sentiment strips. So they did need something, but not too much. So I'm just adding this cute little seagull. This really is like one of my favorite collections. So I'm just having a little look what else needs something. So I'm putting little leaves there, and I'm going to use some gold pearls They always go really well with beachy themes, and with the gold paper and foiling as well. I felt like that one was a bit too big, so I just changed it over, and then the card is done. So now I've got a different type of strips. These ones came as, it's one of the 12 by 12 papers in the same collection. So I'm just going to get a piece of paper that's a little bit bigger than the card so that I can put some double-sided tape on there again. But once again, you can just use glue. It doesn't really matter. I'm just popping it down there. I had this piece as well that I thought went quite nice to break it up, and then I'll just add some more, and I'll actually cut just roughly around this because I've got a rectangular stitch die which I'm going to use to cut it out. So we'll do that, and voila, it's ready. Now I felt like black would make it pop just that little bit more because it has some black elements in those papers. So then they also came with these in the 12 by 12 papers as well, and I love them. I think this one's my favorite. So then I would like to have backed it with the pink, so all I did was cut it down a little bit, and then that way it could fit, and you'd still see a little bit of the pink and also black, to make it pop a little bit too. So I'm just mounting those. What I do here is I pull off one side and then I put the other one side down so that I've got time to move it around and make sure it's right before it's actually stuck down. I do find that tape is unforgiving if you put it down the wrong way. So here I'll just take off two so that I can play with this side and make sure that it's all even before putting them down, and then I can take off that last side. So I hope you'll subscribe if you're enjoying my videos. I'm really enjoying making them, and I would love to make some more. And if you think any of your friends would like to see them as well, because at the moment, because it's a new channel that I have, most people won't get to see any of my videos on their news feeds unless they subscribe. So here I'm just adding another sentiment strip. And do you think this is a great way to use up these sort of sentiment strips and using that background paper? Here I'm just going to use my number 0.4 pen nib, and I make a big mistake here, so all I do is decide to do some scribbly lines on the actual strip as well as underneath it, just so that to make it look like there was no accident there. So I didn't worry about it too much. And it looks okay. You can't tell that that was a mistake now, can you? And I probably didn't even need to do it because I was covering it up with the flowers anyway, but yeah, I didn't think of it at the time. Now, I must have done some late night fussy cutting, and I wasn't quite happy with how I'd cut that beach ball out, so I just went around it again a little bit neater. So now I'm just going to stick things down with tapes and foam dots depending on how high I want them. And I just came across a little bit of this material, so I decided to use it and cut around the circle sentiment, just to give it a little bit more, that this sort of cheesecloth is great for beachy themes as well, so that must have been why it was in with the papers. So I'm just moving it around because I really like that blue stripe underneath, so I didn't want to cover that up. So I just moved things around so you can still see those blue stripes.
Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Say what you wanna say to me now.
So I'm just adding this flower here in the corner and some more gold pearls, and then the card is done. I hope you've enjoyed watching these 2 cards being made, and please subscribe if you'd like to see some more. Thanks for watching.